Two-sentence horror. I ran to customer service to pick up my lost child, only to be stopped by the employee. "Nice try, sir. His dad has already taken him." My husband has been hesitant to try for another baby, saying that the 6 kids we currently have is enough. But after I showed him the metrics from our channel indicating that new babies get the most engagement, he had to agree to try for another. The woman decided to test her new night vision goggles. She discovered an entire new corridor with a single closed door at the end in her house that only appeared in pitch darkness. I was gutted when my wife told me she was having an affair. We were in the kitchen, and they wanted the life insurance. I dropped my wedding ring into the porta potty. That's why my arm was elbow deep in filth. I fished through the warm chunks when a hand grasped my wrist and began pulling. "You don't need makeup," my boyfriend smiled innocently. "You're beautiful enough as it is." Then he shuffled away along the dimly lit corridor, and I felt a pang of jealousy as he parroted the same hushed lines to the girl in the next cell. "No," I shrieked, running up to my husband, who opened the door to the sweltering car he'd left our toddler in all day. "I told you it had to be the swimming pool. The cops will never believe it happened twice by accident." The infertile man pleaded with the devil. "I will sell my soul in return for my wife to become pregnant." The devil nodded and made his way upstairs to where his wife was sleeping. "You kidnapped me as a baby!" I yell at my mother, horrified at the realization. My mother just laughs and says, "Can't kidnap what you rightfully purchased." "After taking this pill, you'll die within a day, but in that time, you'll hallucinate at least 85 years of happy life," said the government official. "Favorable outcome for everyone," he added, as they started distributing the pills to the homeless population for free. My husband told me he'd leave if I wasn't under the weight limit. I will never forget his face as he sunk to the bottom of the ocean, the raft only strong enough to carry myself and our unborn child. One morning, the woman who had lost her eyesight decades ago woke up and found out that she could see, yet she continues to pretend to be blind as she found out that she was surrounded by human-size bugs that were able to speak like humans. As we walked out of the wake, I muttered to my wife, "I understand they wanted an open casket for their little girl, but why would they pose her with open eyes and that huge smile?" Confused, my wife whispers, "They didn't." I said with embarrassment to the operator, "I'm so sorry, my kids must have dialed by accident." Turning to their quivering selves, I sneered, "You ever try that 911 shit again, and they'll really have to call the police on me." The woman was absolutely filthy, rotten teeth, unwashed hair, and the smell of her was making me gag. She said, "I refuse to bathe because when I'm sleeping on the street, men bother me less if I'm repulsive to them." Out of all the PayPal addresses filling her cam chat, she recognized the $100 donation, as it always appeared on Friday evenings. She wished her allowance was just paid in cash like her friends. As I sent my only son and wife away from this dying planet, I failed to realize one thing. They were the only 2 left to repopulate our species. "Wendy, where did you go?" the boy called out exasperatedly, more worried about his missing friend than scaring the deer they'd been tracking. "Where Wendigo?" the pale antlered thing hissed back, its bones cracking horribly as it reared up out of the moonlit ferns onto its hind legs. My wife rolled over and wrapped her arm around me, saying, "That is a bright sunrise." It took a moment for my sleepy brain to remember our window faced west. It has been a decade since I was confined to the fabrics of this couch. Paralyzed in my own filth, I begged them with my eyes to end my misery, only to realize they'd once again gone on vacation. Due to the ongoing situation, all of our locations are closed until further notice. Sincerely, Waffle House. The one time I was left alone with my grandfather after his dementia diagnosis, he grabbed me by the shoulders and said, "Remember, Marilyn, you and your sister can't tell anyone how that arm broke." Marilyn is my mother's name. She always told me her crooked arm was a birth defect, and she's an only child. I called and left an anonymous tip about where the body was buried. Once they excavated the site and exclaimed it was a useless tip, I would have the perfect burial plot for my victims. When we died, my abusive husband went to heaven, and I was sent to hell. We were sent to spend our eternal afterlife together. "I prefer not to state my religion, Your Honor," said the defendant, "because it might prejudice the minds of the jurors against me. "Don't worry," said the jury foreman. "We're all God-fearing Christians like you. You are a Christian, right?" I've committed millions of crimes while reliving the same day over and over, and always woke up refreshed in my own house, no matter what had happened. Waking up this morning in the jail cell, I can only wonder why that particular baby changed everything. The surgeon told me to count backward from 10, and by the time I reached 5, I realized they'd never given me anesthesia. They just wanted to hear what a person sounds like while being cut open. As my wife was giving birth, I thought, childbirth cannot be so hard. She is making the same sounds she did when we made love. It's been 1,749 days of literal hell finally coming to an end, I thought to myself. I crack open the beer and take my first sip in years. Great news. Your daughter is brain dead, but her womb is in perfect working order. Please sign here to turn her body over to the state. We received a patient with the aggressive lung cancer. The nurse who treated him collapsed, followed by 3 more staff coughing blood. By the time I realized the cancer was airborne, the entire hospital was infected. "Dad, how long does the eclipse last?" The child sighs impatiently as he waits for his dad to stop looking. "I'm not sure exactly, son," his dad replies, "but 8 hours seems way too long, doesn't it?" After tying the possessed man to the bed by his wrists and ankles, the men shouted at his wife to call for a priest. Watching her husband struggling against his restraints, she replied, "Thank you, but I can take it from here." My daughter said she wanted to touch the moon one day, and when she finally landed on the moon, she took her glove off to grab a handful of sand. "Shh, stay very quiet," my mom whispered. As we listened to Dad yelling for us, I shoved her away and raced towards him, imagining the new video game he promised me if I found her. Boss said, "I can't believe we had enough raw fish for 200 sushi orders." I guess he didn't know. After the first 100, I substituted raw chicken to make up the difference. Since her assault, no one had seen her in months, and residents started to notice the smell coming from her apartment. After breaking in, police found her asleep on bloodied sheets, the ceiling fan sprinkling her with maggots as it swung a tiny, putrefied corpse around by its umbilical cord. "No, I don't want to turn back," cried the princess as her ball gown turned to rags. I wanted to cry out with her, but all I could do was bark. As a werewolf hunter, my second biggest regret is that I never told my fiancée. My biggest regret is not realizing that it was her. The nurse had been rough, rude, and nasty the entire evening in the ER, to the point other nurses were commenting on it. As I was leaving, I looked her dead on the eyes and said, "I'm glad you're having a quiet night." 4 walls, 13 floors, 1 alarm button I've pressed 8 times, 1 broken phone, 3 people who will notice if I don't make it out of this. And then I paused, because I couldn't even remember how many hours I've been stuck in this elevator. "She won't stop throwing up honey? Her doctor said this carnivore diet thing is bad for her. Can we stop this, please? I refuse to jeopardize my toddler's health because of some quack. We'll just ease her into it from keto first."